Monday. This is Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Thank you guys for tuning in with me. This is Tennessee versus Baylor the next day. Like always, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing this thing out. I appreciate you guys. Really, I've talked about it since the inception of this channel, but my big goal out of it is to be a baseball channel, first and foremost, basketball, football as well. Big week ahead for baseball. Big weekend for baseball as Tennessee comes out as the Shriners Classic champions. So I'm not sure what went into that with them going 2-1 coming out of the weekend, but they're considered the champions. But let's get on with some baseball. And, like always here, make sure you like this thing, share it, subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. The support's awesome so far. But Tennessee bounces back last night, wins 11-5 over Baylor, and it went about how I thought it would. I talked about on the next day, the Tennessee-Oklahoma, how I expected Tennessee to bounce back last night, and I thought they would be okay, and they were. Now, we still saw some of the same thing. I saw a stat earlier that said over the weekend they left 30 runners on base, and just looking last night as well, they left another 10 on base. So, it was 11 against Oklahoma. So it would have been 9 against Texas Tech. And then last night they had 10 strikeouts in the lineup. But I'll touch upon that in a minute. But to me, I like the bounce back. I thought some guys stepped up last night as well. And then, the offense come back to life last night. I mean, they had, once Kavaris Tears, Tennessee's down 2-0. Tears hits that 3-run home run, and it seemed like it just set things off at that point. They really took off. That got the bats rolling. And Baylor, they went through a lot of pitchers last night. I'm looking just on their stats here. Baylor threw 8 pitchers last night. Now, you had, some of them didn't even throw an inning. You had 2 guys throw 1/3 of an inning, 2 guys throw 2/3 of an inning. But they didn't have anyone go over 2 innings last night. Every guy, the last 3, of course, those guys combined for 2 innings. Tennessee didn't score any runs the last 2 innings, but up to that point, they did pretty well up to that point. I liked the approach last night. Some of what Tony Vitello talked about. He said, I think some of it, the guys come in angry last night. And, maybe sometimes you need that game like Oklahoma the other night. He talked about they felt they should have won that thing basically in regulation, shouldn't have had to go the extra time and then lose. He said he felt the same way with it. And then, he talked about some guys in the lineup evidently at the hotel when he broke the lineup. The way Vitello worded it, Cannon Peebles and Blake Burke were not too happy with the lineup. But you know what? If you're not happy with it, do something about it. Because and there's some other, I'm going to talk about that lineup here. You guys know my thoughts on part of this lineup. And it held true again last night with part of it. And I hope to see those changes. But, like I said, I'll get into that later on. So the offense bounced back last night. Good to see on that performance. What I liked was situations where guys stepped up. In those situations with bases loaded or with runners on, you saw guys putting the bat on the ball last night instead of striking out each time. Yeah, there were still runners left on base, but I felt they were more clutch in situations, going the opposite way, having that big hit, putting just the ball in play. I know there was at one point, I think Amick hit into a double play, but it got the run in. Sometimes you just need to get that run. You don't necessarily want a double play, don't get me wrong, but I will take that over a strikeout, which doesn't put the ball in play. It's not that I give up 2 outs for 1, but as you saw Friday and Saturday night, they had opportunities and they struck out twice, and then that got to 2 outs. And, you have no choice but to get a hit or something, to get the run in. They didn't give themselves those opportunities, in which they did last night. Again, looking back at the box score, Inslee 0 for 6 out of the leadoff spot. That has to change. That has to change. I've been vocal about Inslee in the top of the lineup since I started this show. He's not a top of the lineup guy. He's doing good things in center field. He come out of the weekend hitting 136, struck out 2 more times last night. You cannot have your leadoff guy doing that. I'm very vocal about my leadoff guy should be my best hitter. All right, your top 3 hitters right now, it's Christian Moore, hit 471 for the weekend. It's Billy Amick, who hit 353 out of the weekend. And then probably Dylan Dreiling. And if he's going to, Tony likes to mix it up, right, left, or vice versa. If you're going to go that route, I'd go Christian Moore, Dylan Dreiling, Billy Amick. I'm still an advocate. I would not hit Amick any lower than second, but I'm not Tony Vitello either. Dreiling in 2-hole, went 1 out of 5. Last night had an RBI. Christian Moore, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, 2 doubles, 2 walks. Did have a strikeout. He left 4 on base, and he had a stolen base as well. Dalton Bargo, 1 for 4 out of the 4-hole with 3 strikeouts. Not a fan of Bargo in the 4-hole. I'm just not. And Billy Amick, 2 for 4, 3 RBIs. He had a triple. He had a home run. He had a walk. He had a good night. He had a good night play. He hit a massive bomb later on. Cannon Peebles, 1 out of 3 with an RBI, had a walk. He did have a strikeout, and he had a sac fly. So he had a hit, and he got a run in. That was big. Cal Stark replaced him late in the game, which I think you'll see that later on. Blake Burke, 2 of 5. One of them was a fluke hit. I don't know what happened on it. But, that's what it takes to propel him, so be it, because his next at bat, even with them shifting, he still hit through the shift and hit a bullet between second and first. Hopefully that'll get Blake Burke going. This team needs him. All right, they do need him. And I like that Tony moved him down last night. I think it needed to happen. Cannot stress it enough. You had to do it. If that pissed him off to get him going, then that's what it takes. Lowry, 0 for 1. He did have a run. He had 2 walks. So, he's getting on base. He didn't have a hit all weekend. But I still think that's a position they're going to have to explore moving forward. He was pinch hit for late by Villeneuve, who once again got a hit. He come out of the weekend with his opportunities hitting 1,000. I think they need to get Robin Villeneuve more opportunities at the plate. Alex Perry come in and replaced Lowry at second. He went 0 for 1 in his 1 at bat. And then Kavaris Tears had a good night. 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, a home run, a walk, no strikeouts, which was big for him. So he come out of the weekend hitting 364. Good night overall for the offense. Strikeouts are going to happen. It's just about, I think it's going to be inevitable with this team. But, are they in those crucial situations or how do those happen? Again, I would like to see that closer to 5 or so, give or take 5. So they've got to get that down. They have to get that down. And I talked about it, 7 out of the 10 come out of your top 4. Inslee with 2, Dreiling 1, Moore 1, and then Bargo 3. Can't happen. I'm hoping Tony will fix the lineup. I think it's got holes in it. And I'm not about spacing guys out. Put my best up there. Put it on the guys at the bottom. There's some guys playing at the bottom that can hit. Tears is making a case to move up. If Villeneuve gets those opportunities, hopefully Blake Burke and Peebles, last night was a wake-up call for them. That's a pretty good top 7. And then depending on who plays second short, and then you go with your DH, catcher, ever whom they go with there as well. But I think there's opportunities to improve that lineup that I hope they'll explore a little bit this week. Looking to pitching. Now, how about Nate Snead? Talk about Nate Snead, man, throwing around 100. I like what he brings. Looking at the pitching last night, Sechrist went 2 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 1 K, 1 walk. He gave up a home run, gave up a double. He threw 42 pitches, 25 strikes. He didn't impress me much. I thought he had some decent stuff at times, and then there's times he left it out over the plate. But then Snead come in, control is a little bit. He gave up 5 walks. That's going to be the issue with Snead is the walks. He's got to fix that. But 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. He threw 85 pitches, 53 strikes, 32 balls. I'd like to see that come down a little bit, but he settled in. I thought he was a little bit wilder early and settled in. And then they gave Chris Stamos another chance to come in. 2 innings, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, no hits. He looked good. He was a high strikeout per 9 guy coming from Cal. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Tony made comments about, Snead showed him maybe he wanted that ball the night before late. Stamos talking about maybe he was making a statement wanting that ball longer than he got it the night before. So I think they've got three guys at that back with Combs, Snead, and Stamos that some pretty good options back there as well. So I was surprised they didn't go with more guys last night, but I like they gave Snead 5 innings as well. So it's going to be interesting to me who they start Tuesday against Asheville, who they start Wednesday against ETSU. As I don't even really, off the top of my head, do they go with the Matthew Dallas? Do they go with one of these other freshmen? Is there someone else that they go out of the pen? I'm really interested in that. And with the week coming up, guys, like I said, with baseball being a big part of this channel, my plan is to go live Tuesday after the game, Wednesday after the game, and Friday. They start the weekend series against Albany, and then we'll explore the weekend. I like the early times. All three of those games are 4:30 starts, and then Saturday and Sundays at 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So, if all things work out, well, we may have 5 post-game shows this week just to start building this brand and, just establish it. This is the place to come to for post-game Tennessee baseball. I don't know if anybody else doing it. And again, I'm out to do something different than other channels. This is your one stop, again, 24/7, VolQuest guys, Rocky Top Insider. Those guys do a good job covering it as well. They get the interviews, those things. But for instant post-game reaction, this is going to be your place right here for Tennessee baseball. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited where it's going. Love baseball. Always been a baseball guy and hope I can provide some good coverage for you as well, you guys that do like Tennessee baseball. Let's get into wrapping this thing up. But, I talked about my lineup thoughts. I'm curious to see where Vitello goes. You can't keep running Hensley out there at leadoff. You can't. He's not a leadoff guy. Just isn't. Lower third, maybe sixth at the highest is where I would have him. I'm saying lower thirds where I would have him. Stats coming out of the weekend, I talked about that. And in the week ahead, you've got Asheville Tuesday, UNC Asheville. You got ETSU on Wednesday. And never take those in-state games for granted. Those state teams get up for that game against Tennessee. And then you've got and Asheville is basically an extension. I mean, it's 2 hours tops from Knoxville. So that's almost like an extension of an in-state game as well. Tennessee plays them pretty often in baseball. And then, of course, like I said, coming up over the weekend, you got Albany. So I'm still excited to see how this lineup and this pitching staff progresses, how it evolves moving forward. But overall, I thought it was a good weekend, 2-1. Now, I said Tennessee could get away with 2-1 and it'd be a good weekend. I think they would like to have that Oklahoma game back, but at the same time, that was a good Oklahoma team that beat them. And, we'll see where this team goes moving forward. It's college baseball, man. We saw numerous good teams lose games this weekend. It's different in football. You don't see those big upsets like that in football. It's what I love about college baseball. Anytime, any place, that big team could go down in it. But make sure you like, share, subscribe. You guys have a good Monday. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. As always, go Vols.
Everyone rejects me.